Hey guys, my name's Babbling Brook, and welcome to Bitching with Babs, where I broadcast my ever-growing frustration with society in a desperate attempt to hang on to a tiny piece of my sanity. Because we all know I lost the majority of it a long time ago. So today I want to talk about Trump Derangement Syndrome. President Donald J. Trump recently celebrated his first year in office. And during that year, 90% of the news about his presidency was negative, despite the fact that he's actually doing a pretty good job. But not according to the mainstream media. Nope, to them he is a racist, homophobic, disgusting bigot who hates minorities. Despite the fact that he's the only president who actually entered his presidency in favor of gay marriage, and he repeatedly talks about the dreamers who have known no other home but America, and how desperately he wants to help them, and how they have nothing to worry about. So the mainstream media is all in a huff because Trump calls them out on their fake news. But think about it, Trump isn't just our president, he's still a human being. And if everything you did or said was reported in a totally dishonest way, and no matter what you did, people lied about you and put a negative spin on it, you wouldn't have any respect for those people either. Okay, on a quick side note, I'm really sick of people ranting about respect and how they demand respect. Respect is something that you earn. It's not something that's just given. I mean, I act in a respectful manner to people in general, but that has more to do with me being a respectful person and less to do with the fact that anything about my respect for people that I don't even know. It's a lot like trust. I mean, you don't trust people that you just met, right? You automatically don't trust people until they give you a reason not to. And if you say that you do, you're either a liar or a total moron. You wouldn't hand your kid over to someone on the street and say, hey, here you go, I'll be back in a few hours, have fun. No, that person has to earn your trust. And yes, people will say things like, oh, well, good parents hire babysitters that they don't know all the time. Well, yeah, they do, but they've either hired that sitter based on recommendations from friends who they trust, or from websites or services that they trust. Anyways, trust is earned, so is respect. Anywho, since moving back to Washington, I've been more exposed to Trump Derangement Syndrome, or TDS, than I'm used to. And there's something that I've noticed about the people who suffer from TDS. TDS sufferers hate reality. These people won't even concede that Trump is their president, for fuck's sake. I mean, there's a reason that every time you see a leftist interviewed and they're faced with a fact that they don't like, they just change the subject rather than face up to anything that they find distasteful, because leftists don't deal with things that they find distasteful. You know, I've said countless times that if people valued honesty and personal responsibility, that the world would be an awesome place. But how can you claim to value truth and responsibility when you absolutely refuse to face reality? Look, the world is a massively crazy, fucked up, insane, flawed, dangerous place. And we need leaders who are going to be honest with us. Well, as honest as you can be without jeopardizing national security, of course. But leftists would much rather have leaders who repeatedly lie to their faces by telling them what they want to hear with pretty words, than have a leader who tells it like it is without pretense or apologies. He may be uncouth, but frankly, one of my favorite things about President Trump is that he is the antithesis of political correctness. I feel like us Americans have been lied to for so long that it's almost expected of our elected officials at this point. And when someone comes along and calls these dishonest politicians on their bullshit, they will call in every threat, bribe, and favor that they possibly can to discredit the person who's being honest. 90% negative? Seriously? The stock market is thriving, the economy is growing, and honestly, I can't wait until the day all of those leftists wander into their local H&R Block with their W-2s desperately clung to their chest with tears tears in their eyes. And you know what? Some of them will inevitably come out doing a happy dance. Because that will happen. There still are reasonable people in the world who watch news outlets like CNN just out of habit. And don't really pay much attention to social media. And so they still think CNN is accurate news. You know, those people will inevitably be red-pilled. Which, you know, bonus. Once they realize that anyone who makes more than $40,000 a year is going to get a tax break, and people who make less than that won't see much of a change, you know, they'll inevitably realize that a lot of the media that they've been watching is bullshit. And, you know, the people who make less than $40,000 a year generally don't pay much taxes, if any at all, anyways, so who really cares if they get more free money with a tax return or not? What's funny is that while some people will see the light come tax time, the hardcore lefties will inevitably be extremely pissed off that our president did such a great thing for our country. These crazy asses don't care about America, or American people for that matter. They really only care about themselves. Their worldview is based on lies told to them by prior leaders and celebrities, of course, and not by anything or anyone telling them the truth, ever. They're extremely upset that President Trump refuses to lie to them, talk down to them like children, or coddle them. The bubble that they've been living in, like a 20-week-old fetus in its mother's womb, is bursting, and they're acting like babies about it. Not that they would know what babies act like, since they use abortion as a form of birth control instead of having to deal with reality, honesty, or personal responsibility. Oh, by the way, the Democrats filibustered a bill that would have banned abortions past 20 weeks. That's 5 months pregnant. Now, I don't care if you're pro-life or pro-choice. I cannot imagine a rational, decent person thinking that it's okay to have an abortion past 20 weeks. And the fact that we have so many irrational, indecent people making our laws is more than a little scary. In conclusion, this feels like a huge divide in our country, not just between left and right, but between two very distinct personality types. There are those people who are willing to look objectively at reality and base their feelings, opinions, and conclusions on the facts. And there are those who find facts and reality distasteful, choose to live in a bubble that they created for themselves, and rather than listen honestly to someone else's opinion, would rather shut down their ability to express it. Most of us are somewhere in between. We all have a little characteristic of both, but we are all very much more one than the other. Anyways, this is Babbling Brook, and thanks for letting me vent, y'all. Love ya.